This is Terry Williamson with RVDestinations.blog. Thanks for tuning in. This is chapter on our trip up the Mississippi River. We call it the Great River Road Trip. We started in our hometown, but we got to the Mississippi River at Memphis, and that's basically the start of our trip up the Mississippi River. We're going all the way up into Wisconsin, over across the UP of Michigan, and that'll be it for the Mississippi. And then we're coming back down through Michigan and seeing a few things, and coming on down probably Interstate 75 all the way back to Georgia. Okay, today we left the campground at Coles Creek Campground. That's west of St. Louis. It's one of the nicest campgrounds I've ever seen. We didn't have water, we just had electricity, but it was still a very nice campground. It was flat, it was spacious, everything about it was good, except we didn't have sewer and we didn't have water. So we had to fill our freshwater tanks up when we got there and use that water. We were there 3 nights, and according to the gauges we were out of water, but we really weren't out of water, but according to the gauges we were out of water. We came on, it was a hard morning for us. We had a lot of things that went wrong this morning. I guess the first thing that went wrong, we went outside to start packing up, and I found that Lincoln had a flat tire on his bike. The front tire was flat. Couldn't see any nail or anything in it. Pumped it up, leaked out. It was hard to find that leak. So we saw a lot of bubbles coming up, like it wasn't seated properly. We saw a lot of bubbles coming up around the rim. So we decided we better take the tube out and check the tube. So Lincoln's mother had sent us with all the tools. So we were well prepared to do this, and she had sent us with spare tubes. So we took the tube out and put air in it, and sure enough, the tube had a hole in it. So we replaced the tube and put it back on the bike. Lo and behold, it didn't leak. So that's good. Now with a flat tire, I was thinking we wouldn't be able to put that on the bike rack. I was thinking with a flat tire, our only choice was to, if it wouldn't go in the back of the truck, and I don't think it would, we were going to have to put it inside the camper. Okay, so we got through that first problem, got the tire fixed. Letting the slides, it had rained during the night, so letting the slides in, is that where that water came from?
I have no clue.
You didn't see that? Letting the slide in to prepare for the trip, I was standing on the steps, and all of a sudden it was like I was under a waterfall. All that water off the slide just drenched me and all my clothes. Okay, so that's the second thing that went wrong. Third thing that went wrong, Mom Cheryl was inside working the buttons to let the slides in. I went outside to do other stuff. I told her, be sure to make sure nothing's in the way when you let the slides in. Well, she didn't do it. So she's letting the big slide that has the couch and the refrigerator and the stove. She's letting that one in, and all of a sudden I heard a loud noise. She heard a loud noise. She stopped. Well, there was a chair that was not pushed up against the wall good, and the slide hit it, and it took all the trim off the slide. And that's floor to ceiling trim. It took it all off. Okay, so I pushed that back on, but someday that's going to have to be fixed better. Right now I just got it pushed back in place. The next thing that went wrong, and Lincoln didn't even know about it, so I don't know what you were doing in the car not to know about it, but we got in terrible traffic north of St. Louis. I looked at the maps before we left. I planned to go I went an extra 40 minutes out of the way to go around St. Louis. Well, that wasn't far enough around it. So I don't know if there was a town up there, but we missed downtown St. Louis, of course, but we got into terrible traffic, and it was scary, and a lot of trucks, and it was awful. Makes me sick at my stomach to get in that kind of traffic. Anyway, we got in it, and people had wrecks, but we didn't. We saw a bad wreck. Now, I know you didn't see it because you didn't see anything.
I was asleep.
Yeah, you were asleep. Okay, so I guess everything went fine according to what you remember. Okay, so we get to our destination. I call it Hannibal, Missouri, because that's where we're going to spend a lot of the next couple of days. The campground is Behrens, Behrens. It's a Corps of Engineering campground. It's a typical Corps of Engineering campground, but when we pulled up, he asked me those dreaded words that I don't like to hear. He said, "Will you need water?" Oh, great. I said, "Are you telling me my site doesn't have water?" He said, "Yes, your site has electricity, and that's all. No sewer hookups, which most of them don't. No water, which is sort of unheard of until I got up here. All it had 50 amp electricity." Okay. So I pull over where he showed me to the water spigot. Now, Lincoln and I are filling the tanks up with fresh water, because we could get by with the tank. That would last us 3 days, but I don't think it would last us 4. What do you think?
No.
No, it didn't last time, did it? So we're filling the tanks up, and Cheryl's questioning me. "Did you ask him if they had another site that did have water that we could just change to?" I said, "Well, no, I didn't ask him." So she gets out of the truck and she goes over to talk to the man at the check-in station while we're filling up with water. Well, she comes back in about 10 minutes and saying, "Well, he said he didn't have one, but he looked and he does have one, site 63. He said he can't do it for us. We'll have to get online and do it ourselves." So we tried. I went through the whole online reservation thing, got down to the very end, and it said it wouldn't let me do that because I already had a reservation for those 4 days here on my senior pass. So I didn't do anything wrong. It just wouldn't let me do it because it already had me checked in here. Okay, so I went back to the man. The man says, "Well, the only way you're going to get around that is to call the 800 number and explain the situation to them, and they can change you from 46 to 63. Okay, so I went back to the truck and I got on the phone, called him, and he did. He changed us. So we come on to the site, and we've got a tank of water that we don't need. I'm going to get Lincoln to let it out. Anyway, here's my negative criticism of the campground. It's a beautiful campground. We've actually seen 7 deer in the campground already. They're not afraid of us. They're just everywhere. And the sites are spread out. It's spacious. The grass is beautiful. It's a nice looking campsite, but the sites are not level. Every one I've seen so far slopes to what I consider to be a problem. Okay, so we'll live with that, but I hate it when they're not level. Most of the Corps campground sites are level, but so far I hadn't seen a level one in this campground. Okay. Now we move on to the rubber hose connection. The next thing that went wrong. This might be Lincoln's fault, I'm not sure.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, you had your hands on the spigot.
No, you said it yourself, it was off.
Well, so Lincoln says that I said it was off. But maybe it was on.
You checked it yourself.
Okay, we're unscrewing the hose from the spigot because it's leaking, and it looks obvious we're going to have to put a new washer in it. So we unscrew it, just a little leak. We unscrewed a little more, just a little leak. Unscrewed a little more, just a little leak. And then what happened? Water went all over me. Let's see, I probably had dried out from when I got drenched at the previous campground. But now I'm drenched again because that water went all over me. Apparently it wasn't cut off. Okay.
Oh, it was cut off. You just said it was the pressure that built up.
Just built up pressure in the hose. Okay. Well, whatever. Water went all over me. We put a washer in the hose though, and that fixed it. The other thing that I want to mention, and it's not the campground's fault. It's just we followed the GPS on our iPhones. We followed those directions to get here, and it got us here. But it took us down several miles of dirt roads. And when we set up camp and got out and looked at the truck and the camper, it was filthy, filthiest it's ever been. I hated that. So anyway, since we had water, I washed the truck and the camper best I could. No soap, just water hose pressure. And that got a lot of it off. So I think we're past all the bad stuff, and we'll be here for 4 nights, and I'm expecting it to be a lot of fun. We're going to spend a lot of time in Hannibal, seeing all the Mark Twain stuff, taking a trolley tour. And Lincoln thinks we're going to Walmart and buy him a knife, but he is probably wrong. He thinks he's going to buy it with his money, and he's probably wrong. I got a feeling I told Lincoln he probably needs to let his daddy pick out that knife. His daddy is into knives big time, and that's what I'm going to push for, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, that's it.
You're going?
Okay, it's been raining all day. We're bored. Lincoln's decided to go swim in rain or shine.
And Papa T.
Pop T's just waiting.
No, you. No.
Okay. Can you see Mom Cheryl? Yeah.
Oh, I see Mom Cheryl. She's like, I can't.
Let's see. We know that she's right over there on the other side of that trailer, but I can't see. I think I do see the trailer.
I see it.
Okay. I got to show you the rules. Beach regulations. Where is that sign? There it is. There it is. No alcoholic beverages. And then when you look at the trash can, Bud Light, Bud Light, Bud Light, Bud Light, Bud Light. Oh boy. Actually, there's nobody out here to enforce any rules. We've seen a lot of Corps of Engineering people over in the campground, but not here at the beach.
Stop.
That Lincoln, he's always dodging the camera, but that far out in the lake, he can't dodge the camera. You could go under, but he can't dodge the camera. Okay. If you look at that campground right over there, you see that white that white camper behind a white truck, and just to the left you'll see another camper. That's our camper. So Cheryl's in it. She didn't feel like walking as far as we had to go to get here, and the truck's already hooked up to the camper, so we couldn't take the truck. This is our last night here at Coles Creek Campground on beautiful Lake Carlisle, the largest lake in Illinois. Beach area is nice. My favorite campsites in Lake Carlisle, well, my favorite campsites in Coles Creek Campground are 83, 84, and okay are 85 and 86. They're basically the campsites that you're looking at right there, right along the water. So about four campsites, maybe 5, starting with 83. Okay, back to Lincoln. This is the Silver Lake rest area on, well, US 40, or I'm not sure what the name of this expressway is. It's because you had it zoomed wrong.
You stay here.
Spent the night last night at Behrens, and we're headed this morning to Hannibal, downtown Hannibal. I think we're going to start out with a trolley tour and see what we want to visit in Hannibal. Hope we get to take a lot of pictures. Getting our first glimpse of the Mississippi River here in Hannibal. Headed down to the trolley tour.
In half a mile, turn left onto Bird Street.
Well, we're downtown Hannibal at the trolley tour depot, and yay, they have free parking. It's a touristy looking town. Ought to be fun to walk around here. Okay, we almost get started, and Lincoln has to go back to the truck. Did he lock it? Did you lock it? Huh?
I got it. Go upstairs.
Mark Twain and Huckleberry Finn Monument, located at the base where the stairs start to take you up to the Mark Twain Memorial Lighthouse, which we will do later. We don't have time to do it right now because in a few minutes we get on the trolley. Here's the Mark Twain Boyhood Home. Tour starts here. So I've been through this before at Johnny Cash's boyhood home. That will not be Mark Twain's boyhood home. The tour starts here, and the home could be 10 miles down a dirt road somewhere. But we'll come back and check this out right after the trolley tour. Here's a memorial garden right next to the Welcome Center.
Alrighty, are we ready?
Ready.
Oh, he's recording. What's he doing?
Hey, you're on camera.
I'm on camera. I can't tell any lies today, then, can I?
Well, we won't know the
You
difference.
won't know the difference. Good morning. Welcome to Hannibal. Welcome to Hannibal Trolley Company. My name is Stephanie, and I am our statue that we will see in a little bit out at Riverview Park. He is very known for the Civil War monuments that he made throughout the years. The neat piece of history attached to this statue is that it is the first one built in the United States to depict fictional characters. Now to the right also we have steps that go up to the lighthouse. There are only 244 steps that lead one way. Have you guys done the steps yet?
No, but we're going to.
You're going to, okay. If you're not able to do all of those steps, we also have another way to get up there, so I'll show you that in a little bit as well. It's always fun when people have Blankenship Lit. Well, who in the world was Tom Blankenship? Tom was actually a boyhood friend to Samuel Clemens, but we know him best by the name of Huckleberry Finn. Samuel was good about taking real people in his life and using them for inspiration behind characters in his books. If you visit the Boyhood Home Museum here, you can also take a tour of Tom Blankenship's house as well. This parking lot used to be the home to Cruikshank Lumber Company. John Cruikshank is the man who built the Rockcliffe Mansion that we will see later on in our tour. In Hannibal's early days, we were a very large sawmill town. We would have trees cut down in the northern states, bound together and floated down the Mississippi. Places like Hannibal would pull those logs up out of the river and we would process that lumber. Now we could either build with it or we could go ahead and ship it right back out by way of the railroads and the steamboats. Well, one night Mr. Cruikshank's lumber company here ended up catching on fire in a lightning storm. Back during those days, all of the buildings down here were built with lumber, so if we lost one establishment to a fire, we lost multiple. So after Mr. Cruikshank's fire, the city had him build that rock wall that you see over there. That was called a firewall. His mother Jane was originally from Kentucky. His father John Marshall Clemens was from Virginia. Before settling here in Hannibal, they settled in Florida, Missouri, which is about 35 miles west of us. If you blink, you miss it. It's that small of an area. Samuel was the 6th of 7 children born into his family. He was 4 years old when they moved here to Hannibal. They moved to that cream-colored house there on the right, the one with the green flower boxes down in those lower windows. Again, if you visit the Boyhood Home Museum, you can also take a tour of Samuel's boyhood home as well. Now, if you look across the courtyard, you will see two signs. One says Becky Thatcher's house, and the other one says Aunt Polly's Treasures. Samuel, again, was really good about taking real people in his life and using them for inspiration behind characters in his books. He grew up with a girl by the name of Laura Hawkins, and he changed her name to Becky Thatcher. Aunt Polly represents his own mother. Up here on the right corner of our trolley, we have Grant's Drug Store. Samuel's father worked out of a law office that he kept up in the second floor of this building. When Samuel was in his early teens, his father passed away with pneumonia. A year after that, Samuel went to work for the newspaper here in town, and he apprenticed there until he left at 19. To the right, you're going to see Planter's Barn Theater. This used to be an old livery stable once upon a time. Now it is where Samuel Clemens does his live enactment shows through the evenings. I believe his schedule is Wednesdays through Saturday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Up on our right corner here is Dutch Country General Store. Everybody loves going in there. They've got all kinds of goodies, plus the free ice cream cones in the back. When Samuel was 19, he did decide to leave Hannibal. He spent some time in St. Louis, and then he started working his way up north and east. He spent some time in Iowa and in Pennsylvania. When he got to Ohio, he got to study the river out there pretty strong. When Samuel was growing up, he had two childhood dreams. The first dream was he wanted to go out to California and make it big in the gold mines out there. But the second dream did have to do with being a riverboat pilot. Well, while he is in Ohio, he meets a riverboat pilot by the name of Horace Bigsby. Mr. Bigsby took Samuel under his wing and taught him everything he needed to know about being a riverboat pilot. In 1859, Samuel did end up earning his pilot license, and to give a little history perspective of where is this on our historical timeline, in 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected for his first term as United States President. So we had a lot of stuff taking place in our nation at that point in time. Samuel also encouraged his brother Henry to work on the riverboats. However, the sad part of that story is that the riverboat Henry was on ended up catching on fire in an explosion. Over 100 lives were lost, and Henry's life was one of those that was lost. Samuel piloted his riverboat all the way up to the beginning of the Civil War. When the Civil War started, that put all riverboat traffic to a halt, which meant now Samuel is without a job. Well, Samuel decides now that he is going to work his way out west, and he does so by working for one newspaper after another until eventually he does get all the way out to California. When he got to Nevada, he stayed there for just a little bit, and it's in this area that he decided he needed a pen name, and he chose the name of Mark Twain. Well, Mark Twain is actually not a real person's name. Mark Twain is a riverboat pilot term that means ark number 2. On the riverboats, they would have this long rope with a lead ball attached at the end, and this rope was called a lead line. Every Douglas who was from Hannibal was working around this Indian area with his cattle, and he finds this little boy, brings him back here to Hannibal, and he and his wife raised Joe as their own son. Joe became a very prominent man in Hannibal. He was an entrepreneur. He was known well for helping families in the area with different needs they had. He had an issue with Samuel Clemens because, again, Samuel used real people for inspiration behind characters in his books. He used Joe Douglas for his inspiration behind Injun Joe. The only problem with that was the good, upstanding citizen that we had in Joe was nothing like the cantankerous Indian in the writings. Up above us there on the right, this is the entrance to Cameron Cave. You can purchase these tickets up at the Mark Twain Cave area as well. This is more of a rustic caving spot. There is no electricity in this one. You go in with lanterns or flashlights, and some spots you might be walking, and some spots you might be squeezing through. We are in the Mark Twain Cave Campground Complex area. Missouri is known as the Cave State. We have over 5,000 caves throughout our state. Our Mark Twain Cave here is the oldest touring cave. It was first toured in the 1880s. This cave was not always known, though, as Mark Twain Cave. It was known first as Sims Cave. Jack Sims was out one day with his hunting dogs, and he came across some tracks in the snow that resembled panther tracks. So they start following them, and pretty soon Mr. Sims's dogs take off on him. Well, he watches them enter an opening in the side of the hill over here, and he thinks to himself, oh, it'll be a little den. I'll go up, grab my dogs, and we'll go home. Well, by the time he got up there, he could barely hear those dogs barking, so he realized that he had stumbled on a cave system. Years later, a surgeon from St. Louis, Dr. McDowell, ended up in possession of the caves for a time. The building to the right is now a winery, but in years gone by, that used to be the old theater to our campground. Back behind there is a sandwich shop and a little gift shop. Straight ahead of us, we have our campground. It stays pretty busy all summer long. I'm going to circle around here, and as I do, the building on the right is our Mark Twain Cave entrance. The cave tour is a 5/8 of a mile long tour. There are 250 passageways throughout the whole cave system. It is 52 degrees in there all year long, so we like to say in the wintertime, it's the warmest spot in town, and in the summer, it's definitely the coolest spot in town. Now, this is the first of 2 spots on my tour. If you would like to get off and take this tour, you can do that, and then I pick you back up at 11:45 when I...
Are we doing that cave thing?
huge one.
And that's the oldest sycamore
In the state of Missouri.
in the state of
Yep.
Missouri.
The biggest.
The biggest.
The biggest, okay.
I would say the oldest. Oh my goodness, that'd make a nice big old tree house, wouldn't it?
That is a big tree.
Can you zoom in on that, the plaque?
I think so, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I do have it.
Or love with one of the braves from the other tribe. They were constantly sneaking off in secret so that they could spend time together. But one day, the girl's father finds out what's going on, and needless to say, he is not very happy. He told his daughter, he said, if I catch you with that young brave, I will have him killed. Well, young daughter completely ignored her father's warning, and she continued to meet in secret with this young brave. Well, one day they did get caught, and they got caught up on top of Lover's Leap. But before that irate father could grab a hold of that young brave, he and the young girl grabbed each other by their hands and they leaped off of Lover's Leap. Now, at the trolley company, we do like to add that they did land on a raft at the bottom of that cliff, floated down to New Orleans, and opened up a gift shop. If you are able to get up to Lover's Leap during your visit, again, there's a beautiful overlook of the river up there. We also have a picnic structure. So the date down at the bottom is 1926.
I still see him. Let me see if I can get up close. Where is he now? Oh yeah, I see him. I see him.
If I stay away from him, he'll stay. Otherwise, up the back side.
That's a black squirrel. Thank you, Mr. Ford. Oh. Mark Twain statue, Samuel Langhorne Clemens. At the lookout point, the bridge that you're seeing there used to be, I think they called it a cable swing, where the center would swing 90 degrees to let ships go by. And it still does something now to let ships go by, but I'm not sure what they call it.
He passed away when he was 19 months old with diphtheria. Samuel's daughter Susie was a writer, and there's a story that she was working on a book about her father when she passed away. She suffered with spinal meningitis, and she passed away with this when she was 24 years old. Samuel's daughter Jane suffered with epileptic seizures. When she was a little girl, she had an accident and she hit her head very hard. And it's believed that this is where these seizures ended up resulting from. When she was 28 years old, she had a seizure that resulted in an accident and she passed away. Samuel's daughter Clara was an actress and a singer, and she did a lot of traveling with her profession. During one of her European tours, she met and fell in love with a Russian concert pianist. They did get married and they had one daughter. Her name was Nina. When Clara's husband passed away, she eventually did remarry. She met another Russian musician who was a conductor. They didn't have any children. Clara passed away when she was 86 years old. Her daughter Nina followed in her footsteps. She also was an actress and a singer. She passed away when she was 56 years old. Samuel's wife Olivia had a lot of different health issues throughout the years, and as a result of this, the doctors told her that she needed to move to a different climate for her health. Well, this led them to find a home away from home in Italy. It was during one of her Italy visits that she ended up battling some heart issues, and she passed away there. She and Samuel were married for 34 years. Samuel, his wife, and all 4 of their children are all buried in the Woodlawn Cemetery in New York State. If you visit Hartford, Connecticut today, you can actually take a tour of their family home, because their family home is still set up for people to come in and visit there. It totally took on a whole new attitude, I guess I want to use the word.
That's beautiful.
It is. The houses that have been redone are just amazing. This mansion that's straight up ahead of us, I call this a little...
Mark Twain Museum. The trolley tour was good. We just finished that. Now we're walking down the street looking for the Great Days restaurant. Should be a good place for lunch. The whole town is full of touristy type shops, candy shops, fudge shops, places to shop. Gary.
That was fun. I saw you do this.
And she brought her daughters up there to teach them how to drive.
And I would have no clue which ones are one-way roads. Like, it's confusing.
Well, the drop-offs were just awful. And you think she's a school bus driver?
Yeah. She's gotta be.
She's a bus driver, she said, but she didn't say school bus.
I know, but she said enough to let us know it was a school bus. Been a lot more pleasant on this one, and she didn't say the same things on that one.
Lincoln, are you hungry enough to eat?
Mm-hmm.
You can eat.
I was just thinking about that smoked beef.
They may have it here.
They do.
Because they have some kind of connection with that place, Rooster's Knob.
Look on the back.
You remember those little bottles of juice that you chew? Show me one, Lincoln. Here's the way Lincoln carries his.
Anything wrong about that?
No. Now, as long as your legs are clean. Okay, we've just made a terrible decision. We're going to walk up the stairs to the lighthouse. Mom Cheryl won't be able to make it up. And even if we do, she won't be able to make it down. This building was constructed in 1836 by Abner Nash, the aged and needy postmaster of Tom Sawyer. Nash's son Tom was a lifelong friend of Sam Clemens. In the newspaper of 1848, the building was described as a large, commodious storehouse. Mark Twain Memorial Lighthouse. And all you got to do is climb up 244 steps to get to see it.
Look what a good Christmas tree.
Mom Cheryl's going to cut this bush down and take it home.
Wait, people, wait. I gotta put my hat in sport mode.
Me too. Okay, so COVID is around and you're not supposed to touch handrails. But I'm having to pull myself up this hill. I'm just hoping we have some...
Big one's up here.
Some, what do you call that stuff? Hand gel. Mom Cheryl's always got hand gel. Oh goodness, I thought that was it. We gotta take a break. Let's go look over this overlook in honor of all who have served. Here's an overlook halfway up to the lighthouse.
One third.
Lincoln says 1/3. Here comes the train. Our tour guide on the trolley tour happened to be from Canton, Missouri. And I mentioned that we were camping in Canton one night right on the river. And she knew all about that campground. She said that when her grandmother was small, that they used to swim across the Mississippi River there. I think that was, you know, before the lock and dam days, and I think the river was shallow, so it's very possible they could have walked part of the way and swam part of the way. But now with the lock and dams, they keep it navigable all the time. I look forward to seeing that. She said Lincoln could fish right outside our campsite. Oh no, there goes Lincoln. We'll never catch him. Hey Lincoln!
Yeah.
Are there more steps?
Yeah, a little bit.
You got 2 more flights if you're wondering.
It's not too bad.
Lighthouse at the end of the tunnel. Well, you never know where you'll see a little free library. Here's one at the top of the stair climb up by the Mark Twain Memorial Lighthouse. I'm going to look in it and see what kind of books they have. Okay, here we are at the lighthouse. Another great view across the Mississippi. I'm sure it's locked. Oh yeah. Well, at the base of the 244 steps up to the tower stands the start of the tour for the Mark Twain boyhood home. Cheryl and Lincoln didn't even slow down, so I guess we're not going in here. Okay, we're at Mark Twain Lake, camping at Behrens. This is the swimming beach area, public area, at Mark Twain Lake. Got an area where boats can pull up. Beach. Nice little beach area. Just keep a lot of soap on it. You're doing good. I think they spray the roads up here with some kind of salt brine to keep them from freezing over in the winter, and that's still what's getting on the cars.
Oh, don't film.